Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of Piasta's Book Reviews. This is a video on YouTube where we will be discussing this particular book. The book, it has a Portuguese title, Regresso ao Admirável Mundo Novo, but in English it is The Return to Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. It's in Portuguese it's released by Antigona with these special covers with pills in the brains of people. And this follow-up book is not like a sequel to Brave New World. It's like a book of essays about the Brave New World written, I think it's 30 years after Brave New World was written. So Huxley goes over what happened in New World, or actually the things that he used in New World that was like the fulcral point behind him writing Brave New World. Governments taking over, dictatorships controlling the masses, those kind of things. He has several chapters each for one different technique of how you can control the masses, if it's by drugs, by entertainment, by exploring the sexuality, controlling the birth, everything from the humanistic point of view that we should control the growth rate of certain countries, because if we don't, we are dooming them to have an impoverished life. A lot of different topics there are mentioned on this book, but most of them is about controlling the minds of masses and controlling populations, and the thin line between allowing a democracy and enabling a regime of some sort. Um, he makes a parallel to other dystopians as well, and he also mentions a lot what happened with Nazi Germany, for example. It's one of the main examples that he gives of mass control. But there are other references as well, like there are some references to psychology, to sociology, and with some references at the time. And this book was written a few years ago, or quite a few years ago. I think it was in the late 90s. Let me check. Well, it was before he died, so it's like around 1960. I think the first edition, 1958. So this was written in 1958, over 60 years ago. But it's surprisingly actual. Like in 60 years, we still have the same problems that he was talking about. He talks about how people are easy to manipulate, people in crowds being easy to manipulate, the media reaching out to people and being able to control everyone all at the same time. The difficulty that actually he mentions that it was easier to control people before because they wouldn't have access to information, and regimes soon noticed that if they control the information, they can control the masses. And what they didn't realize is that people want to be entertained. By default, they want to be entertained, so they end up watching things that is pollution or noise for the messages that you want to come across. And then it relates a lot with marketing and those kind of tactics, and appealing to your basic senses that you don't really consciously realize that you have, about wanting a product or wanting to be more beautiful or wanting to be something different. And it talks a lot about all these kind of different things and how he would rewrite Brave New World if it was written in the 50s instead of the 30s. So very interesting read. I really enjoyed it. It's very interesting how 1 century or almost 1 century after Brave New World was written, it's still quite actual, and Return to the Brave New World is also quite still actual today. And he talks specifically about the situation in the United States at the time, and I think he would be rolling in his grave if he saw what the United States turned to in the Trump administration and other previous administrations as well. So yeah, very interesting read. I really enjoyed it, and it's quite short, so you read it really fast. It's this thick. So yeah, I recommend you, especially, well, if you like Brave New World, you should check this. Even if you didn't like Brave New World, these are like independent reflections on the society and on marketing, psychology, mass control. So all of the things listed here are still valid, regardless if you liked Brave New World or not. And it's interesting food for thought that will make you wonder what kind of society we actually live in, and what kind of society we want to live in, and what we should strive for, and how fickle democracy is. It's so easy to slip from a democracy into a totalitarian regime, but it's very hard to reverse that, to go from a dictatorship into something that is open and free for control for everyone. And the main problem with that is of course, people get accustomed in democracy that they are free to do whatever they want, so they are free not to care about your political system, not to care about those things. And someone will care about that and do the right decision. And people end up voting uninformed or ill-informed. Nowadays, there's a big upsurgence on fake news and bots that pretend that you have more popularity than you actually have, and that leads the masses to believe that you are something that you're not. Most of the politics nowadays is actually selling to what the audience wants to hear. Politicians are not really honest with themselves and with their audience. They often contradict themselves. They are not accountable for their contradictions. So that it's a sad world that we live in, and Aldous Huxley points out those points across very often, and it's still applicable today. I wish there was a better solution for the current political system that we have, but unfortunately, I don't have the answers for that. So yeah, I highly recommend the read. I give it 4 stars out of 5, I believe, in Goodreads. So go check it out. And that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. See you next time. Bye bye. Take care.